Israel Bond's Spring Leadership Luncheon. Today we have with us the most diverse group of Israel and Israel Bond supporters that I've had in my 35 years as director here. We have supporters from the Christian community, elected officials from across the country, federal and state and local officials, international and local leadership from Israel Bonds, community leaders, Israel Bond investors, and many, many new friends and supporters. We're delighted to have you here with us today. Before I introduce our special guests, and we have a lot of them, I'd like to tell you about our Palm Beach office of Israel Bonds. Since that terrible day of October 7th, 2023, a day that will live in infamy, we have sold $1,300,000,000 worth of Israel Bonds out of the Palm Beach office. Thank you all for making that possible. Our community responded like no other one in the world, and we have the largest investor in Israel Bonds in the world, Palm Beach County, that holds a portfolio of $700 million in Israel Bonds, and you'll hear more from them later. Florida's Treasury has invested $250 million, and thousands of families have invested as little as 36 or as much as multi-millions of dollars. And every person who invests with us is important and valued and appreciated. With that background, I would like to introduce some of our guests today. First, of course, is our honoree, Chairman Brian Mast, the Congressman representing Florida's 21st District. We look forward to his keynote address. I'd like to recognize Louis Stahl, Helene's, I thought was going to come today, but not, the major underwriters for our luncheon today. And now to our stellar list of attendees. Please hold your applause till the end because it's a two-page list. So, besides our honorary Chairman Brian Mast and Louis and Helene Stahl, we have our international leadership of Israel Bonds, Donnie Neve, the international president and CEO of Israel Bonds, Dr. Andy Hutter, international chairman of the board of Israel Bonds, Stuart Garowitz, national vice president of sales, Zev Rubenstein, national business development director. Our national board of directors of Israel Bonds, Skip Nashban, Shira and Eric Lewis, Norman Taplin, and Tom Kaplan is the chairman of our South Palm Beach County campaign. Our elected officials who are with us today are Congressman Mike Herodopoulos from the Florida 8th District, Joe Abruzzo, clerk of the courts and controller of Palm Beach County, Juan Fernandez-Barquin, clerk and controller of Miami-Dade County, Alexia, I didn't see Alexia, she might be tied up in traffic, but she will be here. She's the Palm Beach County State's Attorney, and Dave Ehrenberg, they must be traveling together the immediate past State Attorney. Oh, there he is! Hi, Dave. Sarah Baxter, Palm Beach County Vice Mayor, Greg Weiss, Palm Beach County Commissioner, Senator Jason Rapert of Arkansas and founding president of the National Association of Christian Lawmakers, Commissioner John King, Georgia Insurance and Safety Commissioner, Senator Lana Theus from Michigan, Senator Marty Quinn from Oklahoma, Charles McCall, Oklahoma's Speaker of the House, Congressman Barry Goldwater, I didn't see Barry yet, I hope he's here, he's on his way, Andre Bauer, the former Lieutenant Governor from South Carolina, and from our local and community leaders, Adam Hasner, our newly appointed president of FAU. I've known Adam since he was chairman of the House, the leader of the House of Representatives. Janet Epstein, philanthropy director of JAFCO. Matt Bogdanoff, chairman of the RJC. Tom Nadler, chief investigations of the Palm Beach County Clerk's Office. Brian Finley, CEO of the Stimson Center. And we have religious leaders. There's actually more pastors here than rabbis today, probably because of the proximity to Passover, but I did it alphabetically. So, Tony Barletta, pastor of the Visionary Church in Stuart, Florida. Norman Benz, pastor of the Covenant Care International. Rabbi Hector Eppelbaum of B'nai Torah Congregation. Rabbi Leah Haas at Temple Bethel of Boca Raton. Frank and Mary Marciano, directors of the Sunlight Ministries. Reverend Paul O'Higgins of the Reconciliation Ministry and his wife Nuala, Rabbi Michael Simon from Temple Beth Kodesh, Chaplain David Thompson from the St. Lucie Sheriff's Department and his wife Deborah, and Rabbi Gregory Weissman of Temple Bethel in Boca Raton. We welcome you all and thank you all for being here with us today. I also want to thank my staff, my Assistant Director Effie Regev and Tammy and Alana. I put them through a lot to make this day possible, and I want you to know I appreciate them. And thank you to my wife, Laura. You won't hear about this event anymore after today, I promise. And now it is my pleasure to call upon the rabbi from from Congregation B'nai Torah, Rabbi Hector Eppelbaum, who will lead us in the invocation and Dvar Torah, which will be followed by the singing of Hatikva, Israel's national anthem, and the Star Spangled Banner. Rabbi Eppelbaum, thank you.
Good morning or good afternoon, whatever you will like. In my origin, in my country of origin, Argentina, once you have lunch, it's already afternoon. So let me say good afternoon for all of us, and to thank Mark for inviting me to offer a few words of our sages and the Jewish tradition at this important moment of the calendar. And as you probably know, we are facing a great holiday, one of the foundational holidays of Judaism, which is Passover, which is Pesach. And I would like to share with you briefly two different ideas according to the origin of the different communities. You probably know that there are Jews coming from Eastern Europe, and we call them Ashkenazim, Jews from Russia, Poland, Europe, and there are Jews coming from the Mediterranean area, North Africa, Turkey, Italy, and we call them Sephardim. And we both use the same, basically the same Agada, the same book to lead the Passover evening at home, the Passover Seder. However, there are slight differences, and I would like to bring just one. There's a section in the Passover Agada that says, "Bechol dor vador chayav adam lirot et atzmo ke'ilu hu yatza mimitzrayim." We should see ourselves as we left Egypt. But in the Sephardic one, there's a slight change. And it says, we should show ourselves as we left Egypt. And that small word makes a big difference. Because it's not only to feel that we can be slaves and we have to fight for freedom every day and everywhere, but we have to show that we believe in freedom and we can fight for it. It's not enough to feel it, it's a question of action. And that's why we have the difference in the text, and that's the invitation, and at the same time the way to thank all of you for being those who are in action and not only in feelings. Thank you very much for your support to the State of Israel. Thank you very much for your support to Mark and his amazing job and work doing for the State of Israel and for all of us. May God bless all of us with a Shabbat of peace and with a peaceful and happy Passover. Amen. Amen. So please rise as we will recite the Hatikva. Kolot balevav penima nefesh Yehudi omia utfatei mizrach kadima ain letzion sofia. Oh Lord God.
everybody please join with me, and I'll step away from the mic. I apologize for my singing. Please enjoy your salad and lunch, and we'll take an intermission for you to eat. We are aware of the fact that this is lunch hour and that some of you need to get back to the office, and I promise you we are cognizant of that, and we'll move the program along. So enjoy. Everyone, I know that many of you are still having your lunch, and again, in respecting of your time, we're going to start our program. I would like to begin our program by inviting Donnie Neve, the International President and CEO, for his opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I have to tell you that I have a great conflict because, as you know, the biggest thing before the Seder, the first night of the Jewish holiday of Passover, is cooking. And my wife, we took a house here in Hollywood for a few days for family vacation, and my wife asked me to get earlier to help her in the kitchen. So now I have a conflict whether I should take more time for this speech or should I make it shorter. Not sure about it. In any case, it's a great pleasure to meet you all, and especially our guest of honor, Congressman Brian Mast, the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Thank you for your great support for the state of Israel and the people of Israel. Thank you so much for that.
God bless.
We have so many dignitaries, Mark, that we have mentioned, so it's a really great pleasure to be with you all. But I would like especially to acknowledge here our chairman of the board, Dr. Andrew Hatter, and Shira Lewis, the chair of Israel Bonds Finance and Budget Committee, and thank you both for everything you do for Israel and for Israel Bonds. Stu Gawitz, our National Director for Sales, Zev Rubinstein, our VP for Business Development, and of course our director here, Mark Rubin, and his Assistant Director, Effie Regev. Thank you so much for everything you do. It's really very hard to comprehend the fact that this is probably the second Passover, the Jewish holiday of Passover, since October 7th, and we still have Israeli hostages held by these vicious Hamas terrorists in Gaza. And as you know, the Jewish holiday of Passover is also considered as the holiday or the festival of freedom. And as Moses told Pharaoh so many years ago, "Let my people go," we say this year and again, let our people go. Release the hostages now. And we ache for them, as same as we ache for the brave IDF soldiers who sacrificed their life for the country. We ache for the injured soldiers who would bear the scars of this war for the rest of their life. But despite this heavy toll, the Israeli spirit is very strong and steadfast, because people in Israel understand that this is not just a war on the right of Israel to fight Iran's proxy terrorist organizations. This is really a war on the right of a beloved Jewish homeland to exist. And this is not just a war on the right of our beloved Jewish homeland to exist. This is a war against the enemies of the Jewish people. Yet, not against the enemies of the Jewish people alone, but also a war against the enemies of civilization, against the enemies of the United States of America. And if you ask yourself, what should we do? The answer is very simple. We should stand together against our enemies, like we have done so for such a long time. And if we do that, if we stand together against our enemies, I'm confident that they will not prevail, and we are going to win this important war against Iran and its proxies. And one of the best ways to stand together and to support the state of Israel is by investing in Israel bonds. This is our mission for so many years, to support Israel. And as you know, since October 7, 2023, we have started a special campaign of support for Israel. And listen to this. We have raised, since October 7th on that year, on that heinous day, we have raised about $4.8 billion for Israel. $4.8 billion, which is almost 2.5 times our average before on October 7th. And each and every one of our investors can really take pride in knowing that he or she plays such an important role in Israel's economy resilience. And I would like to take this opportunity today especially to thank a dear friend of ours, a great supporter of Israel, one of yours here in Palm Beach County, Joseph Abruzzo, the clerk of Palm Beach County, for his support. Because he has become the larger investor in Israel bonds. And thank you so much, Joe, for your leadership and your support. And Juan Fernandez, the clerk of Miami-Dade, thank you so much for your support for Israel. And I can tell you that the fact that we have received since October 7th such a great support, not only from individuals and Jewish congregations and communities, which is almost obvious, but we have received significant support from local governments and states all around the country. And that got the attention of our enemies, the anti-Semitic groups and the BDS groups. And I would like to say here today, again, thank you, Joe, and thank you, Juan Fernandez, for standing strong against this campaign of intimidation and anti-Semitic groups that try to intimidate you from supporting the United States' best ally in the Middle East. I've met a couple of weeks ago, I went to DC to meet Leo Terrell. Leo Terrell is the assistant counsel, the senior counsel for the Attorney General Assistant for Human Rights. And I've read that he put the fight against anti-Semitism as part of his agenda, on the top of his agenda, actually. And I went to see him to tell him about the kind of BDS campaign that we have been facing since October 7th. And he promised me to put the campaign, or this intimidation campaign, of the BDS groups and the anti-Semitic groups on the top of his agenda as well, because these are the same groups of people that you can see in the colleges, the same rhetoric, the same intimidation tactics, probably the same bad guys that stand behind them. And they cannot prevail. And we should fight back against these enemies here in the United States. They are the supporters of these fundamentalist Islamic Iranian groups here in the United States of America. And they try to intimidate US public officials from investing in Israel bonds. So we definitely should stand very strong against it. And there is a silver lining. And the silver lining is that the Iranians and their proxies are unraveling, believe me. And Israel has emerged much stronger, much more stronger. And as you can see, the Israeli economy as well has emerged much stronger than people expected, although they have it all of the war. And a lot of that come from us. A lot of that come from the support that we give Israel as part of the investments that each and every one of our investors put in Israel bonds to support the state of Israel, especially these days. And it's not over. Although the huge efforts that we put for the last year and a half, it's not over. The state of Israel still needs all of us. And I'm confident that as soon as we were there for Israel on October 7th, we will continue to support our beloved Jewish homeland. And I would like to conclude by thank each and every one of you for your great support for Israel, the people of Israel, and the Jewish people. Happy Passover, Chag Pesach, Sameach V'Kasher to everyone. Thank you.
And now the Vice President for Sales, my dear friend and my boss, so make sure you listen to him, Stuart Karowitz.
Hi everybody, it's great to see you. Well, Danny, thank you so much. And I want to thank you for your leadership and everything that you do, and really appreciate everything in our friendship. Dr. Andy Hutter, thank you for your leadership, and we really appreciate everything that your support all the time. And I would like to call out, I know that Danny mentioned some of our dear friends, but Joe Abruzzo, Juan Fernandez Barquan, thank you so much for everything. We really appreciate your support. And now more than ever, as Danny alluded to, the Break the Bonds group out here really wants to stop us, and we're not going to let them. Mark, I thank you and your team, always. Great job, and I think we should give you a round of applause. You know, in a world marked by uncertainty, the markets have been understandably very volatile. Stock prices have been swinging, interest rate yields have fluctuated, and investors really have been left searching for stability and meaning. But in times like this, we're reminded that volatility is not just a sign of risk, it's also a signal and a sign of opportunity. So today I want to talk about one of those great opportunities, and that's Israel bonds. At a time when fixed income yields are fluctuating, Israel bonds now offers investors something different, something even better. Competitive rates that outpace many traditional investments. These aren't just bonds, these are commitments. They're backed by a country with a proven track record of repayment, economic resilience, and innovation. Now, let's be clear. Investing in Israel bonds is not just a sound financial decision. It's also a moral one. At a time when Israel faces unprecedented challenges, our support matters, socially, politically, and economically. Every dollar invested in Israel bonds sends a message. It says, I believe in Israel's future. We believe in its people, its democracy, and its promise. Let's not forget also about the strong fundamentals. Israel is a highly educated workforce, a booming tech sector, as we all know and hear about, and a culture of entrepreneurship that earned its name the Startup Nation. But despite the noise, despite the headwinds, this is an economy that continues to grow, adapt, and to lead. So yes, markets may be volatile, but volatile creates space for courage, clarity, and for conviction. Israel Bonds offers us a chance to make a statement with our capital, to seek returns not just for our portfolios, but for our principles. And in doing so, we remind the world that even in uncertain times, we can still invest with confidence and with conscience. Thank you all today. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all your support. Thank you.
Jason, we're going to move directly to Chairman Mast's introduction, and we're going to follow the presentation with you. So I'd like to call Louis Stahl, our major sponsor of today's lunch, who will introduce our special guest, Chairman Brian Mast.
Our family's honored to be able to be part of the Israeli bond community. We're Jewish, first-generation American. Our family were all Holocaust survivors. It's almost the American dream, and the American dream is getting better. And I'll make a political statement with Trump in charge. But along with that, I just want to make a few comments. I see Brian is smiling about Brian Mast, Congressman Mast. Brian, I'll call him Brian, has been a longtime friend of the Jewish community. In 2015, following his service in the U.S. Army, Brian chose to volunteer alongside the Israeli Defense Forces because the U.S. and Israel shared the ideals of freedom, democracy, and mutual respect for all people. He is the only member of Congress who has worn the uniform of both the U.S. Army and the Israeli Defense Forces. Thank you. Representative Mast is also a member of both the House Republican Israeli Caucus and the Bipartisan Task Force for Combating Anti-Semitism. He is committed to finding new ways to support our closest ally and fight back against those who align with terrorists looking to destroy the State of Israel and the Republic of the United States. As chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, 8 to the committee's 27 Republican members were instructed to no longer call the West Bank, but instead, as it is correct in its traditional name, Yehuda and Shomron, a Judean Samaria. Thank you. Truly meaningful. He continues to be a friend of Israel through words and actions in each and every day in Congress. So that's the official word. This is my personal feelings about Brian and his family. They are dear friends, and Brian and his wife Brianna and their marvelous children are a true blessing to our country, our way of life, and the world we have. You truly are a transformational leader and a true patriot and Zionist, and a true non-woke graduate of Harvard. That's unique. Thank you. Helene, Jacob, and I are proud to call you and your family some of our closest friends. With true love and respect, I would like to introduce my dear personal friend, Brian Mast, since 2015 or maybe earlier. Please come up.
I was laughing at some of the people Mark was calling out, saying hi to a lot of the officials that we've known each other for years. And when you mentioned Adam, I was thinking, I knew Adam since his beard was not gray. I'm sure he's heard that a few times. Dave and I were talking at the table saying we need to speak a little bit about where we stand on terrorists. So I'll talk about a little bit about that as well. But I'm going to talk about a few things that go on in Washington and talk about a few things that we all know. And we know that Israel is small, but we also know that, like America, Israel is a lion. And America is a lion. And we fight like a lion. Israel fights like a lion. That's what unites us, just as much as our love for freedom and our love for innovation that was mentioned, and our love for raising our children and everybody around us to have big, amazing dreams and having the drive to go out there and accomplish those dreams, and the determination to go out there and grind and grind and grind each and every day to accomplish those dreams. That's something that we have in common, just the way that we live life and that we go after it and tackle it regardless of the challenges that we have in front of us. And that's the kind of ally and the kind of partner that you want next to you in whatever it is that you're undertaking. And we also know that, being lions, we have hyenas lurking in the midst around us. We always have hyenas. They're waiting to bite us. They're waiting to ambush us. They're waiting to kill us. Very literally, if we turn our back on them. America, we had our 9/11. Many of us were affected very personally by that. And right to this very moment, we are still living through October 7th. Israelis and Americans alike. War was a decision. War was a choice. War was a choice that was made by a bus bombing by Hamas. It was made by the people in Gaza when they made Hamas a majority elected government. They chose war. When Hamas bombed restaurants in Israel, Hamas chose war. When Palestinian Islamic Jihad killed 11 people in a restaurant bombing, they chose war. When a mall bombing killed 5 individuals by Palestinian Islamic Jihad, they chose war. When a market bombing killed 5 individuals by Palestinian Islamic Jihad, they chose war. When there was a club bombing in Tel Aviv that killed 11 people, they chose war. When Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade and Hezbollah chose to do that, they chose war. When there was a bus bombing that killed 11 people and a bus bombing that killed 8 people, Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, they chose war. When there was a port massacre by 2 Hamas suicide bombers that killed 10 Israelis, they chose war. When there was another bus bombing that killed 16, perpetrated by Hamas, and another bus bombing that killed 17, and an attack at a train station that killed 23, they chose war. When there was a pub bombing that killed 3, and a bus bombing that killed 7, and another one that killed 17, they chose war. Every rocket that has been fired into Israel year after year after year, that's them choosing war. Every body not returned to the families, not returned to Israel, every body still held. That's the choice of war. War is the remedy that Hamas chose. They chose war with their genocide. War is what Palestinian Islamic Jihad chose. War is what the people in the streets of Gaza chose, and the UNRWA workers chose when they helped take captive Israelis and Americans. War is what they chose when they helped to build Hamas tunnels, when they helped to educate their population to hate Jews. And war is what Iran chose. That is how we got to where we are today. October 7th. October 7 was them choosing war. War was not chosen by Israel. But I know this guarantee, and you all know this as well. This war will be finished by Israel. Personally, and I know many of us in many different generations, we've been shaped by serving in war. I've been shaped by serving in war. I carry that with me as a representative, as a father, as a friend to people. I carry that with me as chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. And I can tell you that in the House of Representatives, as I consider each day supporting Israel and what has to take place with foreign policy, that supporting Israel is the easiest foreign policy decision of any decision that I have to go out there and make on any given day. Each day, as I go out there and I have to review, because this is part of my job, as I have to go out there and I have to review the list of nations across the world, across the globe that want to purchase weapons from the United States of America. They want to purchase rifles or bullets. They want to purchase helicopters or night vision optics to wear while they're flying those helicopters. They want to purchase bombs and Patriot missiles and fighter jets and tanks and every other weapon that you can imagine. I have to literally sign off on each and every one of those. Will I allow that or will I not allow that to take place? And I can tell you that I choose to say yes or no. And I say yes, knowing that our values between Israel and the United States of America, that they are shared, and our trust is unparalleled, and our bond is unbreakable, and that is how I say yes to Israel each and every day. It is a moral and likewise a strategic imperative for the United States of America to stand beside our greatest ally, Israel, and to not see the value and the necessity of supporting Israel in this war against Hamas and in this war against Hezbollah and Iran, it's as moronic as not recognizing the value of the walls to your own house, to your own home. Because that is the value that Israel brings to us. It is a security that Israel brings to us as strong as the walls that we have around us in the places that we live. And I'm not going to be bashful, and none of us should be bashful in saying that we fight many battles in this war. Stupidity is a battle that we fight. Stupidity is just as much of a battle that we have to fight against as are the proxies of Iran. We fight dim-witted media across the globe. We fight United Nations workers. We fight governments that have absolutely no interest in the truth of what is happening or what has happened or any interest in the recollection of the day and the moments and the actions that brought us to right where we are in this moment. And I don't mean to make light of this, but like David and I were speaking about at the table, some of you have seen these dim-witted people follow me around Congress. And these men and women, they put on pink hats, they put on pink scarves, they put on pink shirts. I ran into some of them yesterday. They were literally chasing me down the road in their little pink boots down the road, chasing me down to the car. They're some of the stupidest people I've ever met in my life. This is the truth of it. And, to tell a little bit of the story about, where we find ourselves standing on terrorists, one of these ladies that I see regularly, she's in my hallway, she wears a pink hat constantly, and she just got done berating, I wouldn't say berating, but she was trying to yell at me, trying to upset at me, it's not gonna happen. And she's yelling at me and she's saying, I want my taxes to go to UNRWA, I wanna do this, I want you to support UNRWA and United Nations against all these things. Ma'am, your taxes aren't going to go to UNRWA. You effing this, you effing that, I can't believe this. She goes running down the hall screaming, ma'am, I can assure you, your tax dollars will not go to UNRWA. She keeps going on, and a little while later, I see this, same lady, I'm down by a train. If y'all have been in the Capitol building, there's a train that takes you between the office buildings and the Capitol building. And I'm down there, walk into this train, and these people are down there, 4, 5, 6 of them, and they see me coming. When they see me coming, they put out a bullseye on me, which I'm happy to do. It's like bringing the pigeons to the cat. I don't mind seeing them. And so she says, ma'am, you're this, you're that, your kids are this, your family's that, you're a terrorist. You are a terrorist. She's standing waving her finger at me, and I said, ma'am, do you know where we stand on terrorists? Do you know where we stand on Hamas? And she looks at me, almost going cross-eyed, looking at me, and she looks bewildered for a second. I said, we stand on their throats. And man, you would have thought that I stole this lady's 20 cats, because she just started, you are a monster, you are crazy, But that's the stupidity that we deal with. And it's not just these people in pink clothes and pink hats that are stupidity. Stupid people can be dangerous as well. And we face stupidity in a lot of other places. I'll give you another example of stupidity. There's a lady that I had before myself in a hearing just maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago in Washington, D.C. And this was not a not powerful individual, but a very stupid person. And this person was the secretary, the Undersecretary of State for Arms Control and International Security. That's a fairly important thing. And she opens up the hearing speaking to me, Congressman, I'm here to tell you that I'm here to support and that the Biden administration is here to support a two-state solution. Okay, well, thank you for letting me know. That's, your remarks to me, very good. Well, let me ask you a very simple question about that. A very simple question. Have you taken the time to think about that objectively? You would have thought I asked her to explain the Pythagorean theorem or something like that. What do you mean? Explain it objectively. Have you looked at your support for a two-state solution? Objectively, have you analyzed that? Objectively, I don't understand. What are you trying to say? What are you asking me? Objectively, I don't understand what you're saying here. Have you taken the time to analyze it? No, I haven't. Wait, no. Yes, I have. Yes, I have taken the time to look at this objectively. Yes, I have. Okay, well, since you've taken the time to look at this objectively and think about, can you tell me who is it that you think, if you were to create a state out of these Palestinians, objectively speaking, who would lead that state? Would it be Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, Lions Den, Fatah, take your pick of terrorist organizations, or any other group that you could possibly name? Who is it that's going to lead this second state that you're looking to make? Well, listen, I can't answer that question, but you said you looked at this objectively. It's not my job to look at this. It's, well, somebody in the government will look at this. Ma'am, you are the United States government, and you said you looked at this objectively. Well, it's not my job to do this. Okay, well, let me ask you something else. You know, do you assess that they're more likely to be a major non-NATO ally of the United States of America, or do you assess that they're likely to be a state sponsor of terror? What do you think is more likely out of making a Palestinian state? And of course, we went on to the same diatribe of, you know, it's not my job to answer that, and somebody in the government down the road will answer that. We have had stupid people going out there and making very serious decisions about national security and even about the creation of nations that would even immediatit be labeled state sponsors of terror. And, you know, I can tell you, it's a combination of funny and sad how stupid these people are, but it is absolutely not funny, the cost to people. And it's not funny, the cost of war. What you see before you, I am the cost of war. And I stand before you resilient, but it's not without painful and painful experiences in my life. I've had the opportunity to share a great deal of time with Israeli service members that have had the same costs of war. Visit with them in their hospitals. Sit with them as we throw medicine balls, as we work to do some physical therapy and recovery and other things. Talk to them about the friends that they've lost and the friends that I've lost. Those are costs of war. Those are costs of stupidity. Those are the kind of costs that you have if you make a state that you would immediately have to label a state sponsor of terror. The service members in Israel, they're resilient. Most of them want to find a way to get back on the battlefield, to get back next to their friends, to put a kid on their back, to shoulder a rifle, to look through their night vision optics again, to get into a tank, to get into a vehicle, to get into a bird, to find a way to be in the fight, because they know that this fight is bigger and more important than just themselves as individuals. And they're willing to give their lives for it. Like we American service members have been willing to give our lives in service to our country. We share these commitments to our nations because we know what our nations represent across the globe, and we know the hope that our nations give to every nation across the globe. War, it doesn't suffer fools. It doesn't suffer foolishness like the men and ladies in pink and those that would listen to their ideas, or the undersecretaries for arms control and other things that don't take the time to think about the ramifications of the policies that they're looking to institute. War is always dangerous. War is very often deadly. There's no room for not assessing, for having any less commitment than standing on the throat of our enemy. There's no room for anything less than that. That is the commitment that we have today. That is the commitment that Israel has. That is the commitment that the United States of America has against Iran, against every single one of its proxies, against its ambition for a nuclear weapon, against Hamas, against every terrorist, whether they wear a black hood and a green bandana, against everybody that works to hold civilian or soldier alike, to hold an American or an Israeli hostage. That is the commitment that we have, is to stand on the throat of our enemy. And I just want to tell you, I thank God that we have leaders in America and leaders in Israel with the guts to fight and the guts to win, to go out and win this war and make sure that a war like this never occurs again in our lifetimes. That is the place that we are in today. I thank you all for supporting America. I thank you all for supporting Israel, for supporting our leaders, for getting us to the place that we need to be. Let's go out there and win this fight. Thank you. Okay, I went for it.
No worries, my friend. I would like to call Andy Hutter, International Chairman of the Board of Israel Bonds.
Thank you for bearing with me. It's a pleasure to be back in my other home, Boca. It's a pleasure to be here out of New Jersey, where one, the weather is nicer, and two, we have such great bipartisan support for the state of Israel. Congressman Mass, what you have done and what you will be doing for us is so much appreciated. Thank you for your service, thank you for your support, and thank you for your everything that you do for us and for the United States. Israel and the United States are in this together, and I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to wish everybody Chag Sameach, Happy Pesach, and I challenge you to do what I am, but my Afi Coleman gifts again this year will be Israel bonds to all of my children, my grandchildren, my nieces and nephews. That's the best way to build the next generation. Give them an Israel bond for an Afi Coleman present, buy it online. Thank you all, Chag Sameach.
We would like to present the Congressman this Special Israel Bonds Award.
Thank you, Congressman Mass. Thank you, Andy Hutter. Thank you, Donnie O'Day. I started to talk about the program, talking about the diversity of our supporters today. And part of that diversity is exemplified by our next guest speaker, and I appreciate that we went out of order, Jason Rapert. Jason is a former senator in the state of Arkansas, and he is the founder of the National Association of Christian Lawmakers, which is a very important Christian group, and they are 100% supportive of the state of Israel. I had the privilege of addressing their convention last year. Jason, please come forward.
Greetings to all of you today and shalom. And please give the Congressman another round of applause. Wasn't that inspiring? I'm not going to take much time here today, but it is good to be back here, and I want to thank you, Mark and Stuart and President Neve. This has become a bit of a second home for me here as well. But I just wanted to bring you greetings on behalf of the National Association of Christian Lawmakers, as well as the American Christian Leaders Institute. I'm happy to be a part of both of those organizations. The National Association of Christian Lawmakers was formed in 2019. We do have now members and supporters in all 50 states. And as a part of that organization, very intentionally, we have 7 standing committees as a part of that entity, one of which is the America-Israel Committee. And I'm very happy to have here, very specially, the very first chairman of the America-Israel Committee was Senator Marty Quinn of Oklahoma. Marty, wave at them. And since Marty has moved on to other things, we also have Senator Tice of Michigan that is our state chair there, and she chairs the committee now. We're very proud of that. I actually woke up this morning, all of us have social media these days, and I had a memory that popped up for me, Mr. Stone. And that memory was actually when the Consul General Gilad Katz for the state of Israel came to the Arkansas Senate chamber and brought me a letter from the state of Israel thanking us for the work that we were doing even back in 2019. And it reminded me that one of the greatest things that I've been able to do with my service in the Senate and through the National Association of Christian Lawmakers is to invest time, treasure, and talent into something that's very meaningful to me. And I am very happy to be working with Israel Bonds to make sure that more and more Christian entities and organizations have an opportunity to invest in Israel. We're getting ready for Passover, and we know the importance of the promise that is given to the Jewish people. And I happen to think, when I thought of Moses and his role with all of the history of the Jewish people, it's not just a spiritual role, but also a political role. There was a role for the voice of the state. There was a role for the voice of the people. And even today, it's important that we remember. And I also want to say, on behalf of myself as a Christian, that you can be Jewish and not think so much of the Christian perspective. But you cannot be Christian, as one of my good friends says, and not think of our Jewish history. We are forever together with our Judeo-Christian values. I bring you greetings as one of them, also to tell you that we're very proud of one of the first members of our NACL National Advisory Board was Governor Mike Huckabee of Arkansas, and he sends his greetings to you here today. We were able to have President Neve and Stuart and Mark to join me for a special reception just outside of the Israeli embassy there during the inaugural ceremonies, and that was very special to him. As a matter of fact, God willing, in a couple of weeks, I will be in Israel, and I hope that I get to see him there. We're proud of his representation and thank President Trump for appointing him. I will end my remarks today by saying to you, of those of you that have Christian friends, and maybe they're pastors or maybe they're just business people, make an effort to engage with them. If we can help you to make that bridge effective, we would love to do it. And here's what I love to tell people. I was just telling Mr. Kent, we were just visiting, and I said the most wonderful thing about Israel Bonds is that we're not asking people to give their money away. We're simply asking them to invest it for a season. And the Bible definitely says, blessed are those who bless Israel, and cursed are those who curse Israel, in Genesis 12:3. I could say so much, but I want to tell you that we are committed at the NACL, as has been shown through our efforts. You know, I don't have personally hundreds of millions of dollars that I can invest in Israel Bonds. But by God's grace, I carried the legislation that authorized my state to invest tens of millions, now has about 60 million. And many of our NACL advisors, many of our elected officials around the country, they have been literally invested hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars into the state of Israel. I have to say for myself, as I've gotten to know all of my friends here now, and many of them have challenged me, and I have to say that as the son of Louisa, and the grandson of Louisa Christina Fluge, my grandmother, who was Jewish from Germany that came here in the 1800s, I'm happy to be here with you today. I really believe that for this little country boy from Northeast Arkansas, that you all have helped bring me to a realization of a part of my life that has now become very, very important to me. And just as important as my friend standing in the back, Norm Taplin. Norm, thank you for all you do for Israel Bonds, my friend. With that, I will tell you that we wish you happy Passover. We look forward to working with you to continue to build and strengthen our work with Christian entities. And I must say one last victory. I opened the door to College of the Ozarks a few months ago, and Mark Rubin was able to help them invest their first $500,000 in Israel Bonds, and I know there'll be more. God bless you, and we look forward to seeing you next.
Thank you, Jason. So I talked about the unity, and the unity that we have is exemplified by our final speakers today. Although they are from different political parties, they are united in their support for Israel and Israel Bonds. I'll speak about the Israel Bonds partnership with elected officials. It's my pleasure to call upon Congressman Mike Herodopoulos, a Republican representing Florida's 8th Congressional District, and Democrat Palm Beach County Clerk and Controller Joe Bruza, who, by the way, we all know is the largest client of Israel Bonds in the world. He owns a $700 million portfolio. Thank you so much. And after they're done, stay. We have dessert, coffee, and kibitzing. Thank you so much. Together. You guys are together. That's what it is. It's all about.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for just a fantastic afternoon. And this is the promised land here in Florida. We love this state. And it's great to see my good friend Adam Hasner, who's done so much great work in this community, and now is, of course, the president of FAU. And isn't it refreshing to see politicians talk in such a straightforward manner about good versus evil? And that's exactly what happened today with our chairman, and that is where we stand in the United States Congress today. And isn't it great to have a great Christian man like Mike Johnson as Speaker of the House of Representatives, who, again, stood 100% with the state of Israel. And finally, our amazing President of the United States, who again has stood for Israel, and I had the pleasure of working with him, of course, now in the United States Congress. It is good versus evil. And that is where we stand today, and why it's so important that people like Joe and others have made this investment in Israel. And my wife and I had the incredible honor back in 2011 to go to Israel for the first time. And it literally changed our lives. As you see the Bible come to life, and look around at this promised land, and yet 7 enemies surround that nation, your nation. And that is why we saw such a clear light of why it is so important that we stand for Israel, because they are not only the voice of freedom, they're also the voice of reason in that part of the world. And so when I chose to run for Congress this year, I was so proud to have the immediate support of groups like AIPAC. They stood behind me because they knew I would stand with Israel, and we know that we must stand with them together. And you have other friends, of course, in that United States House. How about Elise Stefanik standing up and make sure those Jewish students across the country are looked at? And we are so pleased she is back in the United States Congress. But I will close with this. As my dad said, long last name, short speeches, long political career. And I'm going to keep that in mind, because I'm between you and your weekend. So, Joe, be careful. So with that, I want to say thank you. It's great to see my friends from Arkansas and Oklahoma and Michigan. We're standing up as Christians for our friends in Israel, and we can't wait to continue to push Israel first and looking out for freedom and reason. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that. Always my Senate President, Mike Herodopoulos. I grab that. It's mine. I first want to thank our spiritual leaders, our rabbis with us today, who now more importantly stay with us, guide us through some of the most difficult times. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And pastors. To our Israeli Bond group, Danny, Stu, Mark, we'll speak about you in a minute, but none of this would be possible. Both the investment for taxpayers, but most importantly, making sure Israel is sound and whole for these incredible investments. To Congressman Mast, Chairman Mast, who had to leave, I will just say this, and this is coming from a Democrat: true American hero. End of story. I did want to add some context to our record-breaking investment in Israel bonds. On October 8th, the day after the most tragic day in Israel's history, I received a call from our state attorney, Dave Ehrenberg, at the time. And I want to pause there because Dave was one of the first state attorneys in the nation to make sure that anti-Semitic hatred did not occur and would be fully prosecuted under the fullest extent of the law. And we have with us Alexia Cox, our current state attorney, who's picked up that mantle and protects us every single day, along with our brave men and women at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. So I got a call from Dave, and he said, I have Mark on the other line. Could we patch you in? Mark got on the phone and he said, Joe, we have a $25 million issuance in Israel bonds. It's the first in the world. Would you be interested in taking it? I said, absolutely. And we, Palm Beach County, became the very first investment after October 7th in the world, followed up later that evening or next morning by Jimmy Petronis at the time, our CFO. But I have to add this into context because I see two of our members of the Board of County Commissioners here. And again, a lot of people are in this group that it wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for them. And what I'm about to tell you wouldn't be possible without the Board of County Commissioners. When I became your comptroller in 2021, I went in front of the Board of County Commissioner Commissioner Weiss, who's with us today, Commissioner Sachs, who represents West Boca. She could not be here today, but one of our strongest supporters by far. And I asked them, we had a 5% cap on investing in Israel bonds. And I asked them to raise that to 10%. And they unanimously approved it. And I got extremely excited. And I called up Mark. And at that time in 2021, he said, Joe, we are so highly sought after because we are one of the safest investments in the world. We've never missed a payment on principal and interest. We're sold out. So between that and unfortunately the horrific day, there was nothing to buy even though we got the cap raised. So back to the present day, we invested the $25 million, first in the world to do so. And then another tranche of $130 million came through. And we were, at that time, we purchased it, the largest single day investment. As we heard from Congressman Mast and Danny, a massive protest happened because of that investment on Okeechobee Boulevard. What these terrorist sympathizers did not understand and realize, we were already working on the next tranches of money to invest, because I want to put this in context. When I became your comptroller, we earned, our entire 100% of our portfolio earned $27 million of total investment income for you, the taxpayer. The Israel bond portion, which is now 15% of the portfolio, earns over $35 million for our taxpayers. So 15% is earning what 100%, over what 100% did when we first were able to manage the funds. No, I appreciate that. And a big reason we got to 15% is because of what I consider one of the strongest leaders we have seen on the county commission in decades. And that is County Commissioner Sarah Baxter, who is with us as well, who just served her first 2 years in office, but will be there for potentially a six more year period and help us carry that mantle after Commissioner Weiss is termed out in 2 years and many others like Commissioner Sachs. So Commissioner, I cannot thank you enough for the support for the long run. We currently, as you heard, have the largest investment in the world of $700 million. And I have to thank the support of Louis Stahl, Tom Nadler, Howard Weiss, so many that have been guiding me within the Jewish community. I see to my left, be remiss if I didn't say it, and this is important. When I was elected to the legislature in 2008, we were in a horrendous fiscal crisis. We went from nearly a $90 billion budget in the legislature down to $69 billion in a year. President of the Senate, Mike Herodopoulos, the leader of the House, Adam Hasner, had to work together, which was the biggest fiscal decline in a single year period. It was pandemonium as far as our budget. We've never seen, even during COVID, even during certain trying times since, anything like that where our budget dropped that drastically. And they coalesced, both Leader Hasner and Speaker Herodopoulos, a foundation in the legislature, that it wasn't going to be about Democrats and Republicans, that we had to work together to literally save our state. All due respect, Governor Christ was off doing other things at the time, switching parties. I wasn't on the ball. I'm calling it as it is, just being direct. And Leader Hasner and President Herodopoulos had to work with the entire legislature and lead us, and you did. And I will never forget that, and it should never be forgotten. And I have to say one thing about Leader Hasner, who, thank God, the first Jewish president in FAU history. And he just had a Seder, a Passover at the president's house, which has never been done before. So thank you, Mr. President. The university could not be in better hands. And I do have to say this, if I may take one final point of personal privilege. You know, we have dealt with a lot, from the protesters to lawsuits being filed against our office and me personally for the investments in Israel bonds. We've been fighting it every step of the way, but as it's not lost on many, I'm a likely candidate and an applicant to become the next county administrator in Palm Beach County. Thank you. I just wanted to read something because this is what our county commissioners, like Commissioner Weiss and Commissioner Baxter, are being bombarded with. First, from the far left wing of my own party, the Democrat Socialists, Joseph Abruzzo is responsible for Palm Beach County's $700 million investment in Israel bonds, the largest single investment using public tax money globally. If we don't act, he could become county administrator. Email them, and they'll provide the phone script and email instructions to start bombarding county commissioners. From what I consider the terrorist sympathizer groups that are suing us, holding rallies nonstop. Similar thing, urgent with the Palestinian flag, and just basically rips me apart and urges them to contact their county commissioners. Our county commissioners have been receiving this type of communication along with a long storied editorial boards that have traditionally, especially from South County, not supported Jewish candidates, have picked up this mantle to use personal attacks. Commissioners, I am sorry that my potential candidacy has caused you to endure. What they're trying to do is create chaos, and it was never my intent to make your jobs harder just for my potential interest in serving as your administrator. And I apologize, and I really mean that. I apologize for, of course, you having to go through that, but I do not apologize to them. Just like we invested more, I'm not going to be deterred because of the way that I've conducted myself in office. And I will just say this because it's important, and I want you to, Congressman, I apologize, I had a lot to say. This remark came off the cuff, and it goes along with what Congressman Mass said. I was at one of our temples, and it dawned on me, it was in October of right after the horrendous day. And I said, you know, if what happened in Israel happened in America, where terrorists dug under our cities, paratrooped in, raped our women, murdered little babies, the country that did that to us, it would look like the moon's surface. There would be nothing left. And thank God we live in the United States of America with strong leaders. I have to thank my fellow Miami clerk for being my partner along the way, but most importantly, all of you for supporting Israel bonds, one of the safest investments in the entire world. We're going to continue to do well here fiscally for Palm Beach County, and if you need anything, I'm always available. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I want to thank Fred for his great photography. Appreciate you. And I want to thank all of you for being here and remind you we have dessert and coffee and all kinds of goodies. So please don't run out. If you can stay, join us. We'd love to see you. We'll see you next time, and thanks for joining us. Good night.
So, I mean, 10 calls.